Hey everyone, welcome to Nicole and Dime. Thanks for watching. Please be sure to like, share, comment, and subscribe. My name is Nicole and I share cheap and easy DIYs for events, decor, holidays, and more. You may have seen me on TikTok or Instagram where I have gained millions of views and thousands of followers by posting short form videos. But now I'm coming to YouTube to give more in-depth tutorials and show you how you can turn low cost into high end easily. Let's get started. Today I'm going to show you how I made this wedding magazine for my brother and sister-in-law's wedding. This is easily one of the most viewed, liked, commented, shared videos across all of my social media platforms, so I thought I would do a more longer in-depth tutorial on how I achieved this for YouTube using Microsoft Word. Microsoft Word is obviously not a graphic design program, but I'm going to show you all my tips and tricks that I use to make it operate like a graphic design program. I do know how to use graphic design. I do it, freelance, but for some things I do think it's just easier to use Microsoft Word, and this is one of them, especially if you don't want to pay the crazy prices for Adobe. So let me show you how I did this. First, if you saw any of my other videos on this channel, you know that the easiest way to make Microsoft Word work like a graphic design program is by text box. So get used to text box and wrapping pictures and wrapping text. So we're gonna get into that, but those are the two main things I want you to remember throughout this entire video. So that's a couple different sizes that you can use in the booklet printing. I'm doing 8.5 by 11 because that is the size of Microsoft Word, and it's pretty close to the size of an actual magazine. But if you were picking a different size, let's say for cost purposes or what have you, just go down to File, click Page Setup, and then right here under paper size is where you can pick the size that aligns with what you're printing. There's a bunch of already put in options up here, but if your option is not there, click Manage Custom Sizes. You click this little plus sign, and you can type in all of your dimensions right there. But I'm doing 8.5 by 11, so it's perfect. Okay, so new document, 8.5 by 11. The first thing that I want you to do is to insert the amount of pages that your magazine is going to be. So again, it depends on where you're printing, but I'm doing staples. I know the booklets are 8 pages, so I'm going to keep clicking blank page until it says page 8 of 8. And the reason for that is it's not a graphic design program, Microsoft Word. So you could do an entire page right here, type a bunch of stuff out, and the second you want to add another page, it could break up the entire document. I know that sounds crazy, but like right here, see I put the cursor right in the middle of the word. If I click blank page, it's going to break that up. And since we're not like typing like a regular document, we're going to have pictures and word boxes and everything all over the page. We don't know where Microsoft Word is going to decide to break up your page. So I just like to add all of my pages and have a blank surface right from the get-go. Okay, so that's the first thing I want you to do. Next, I just like to go in order. So let's work on finding our cover image. So I'm going to look for a random wedding couple. Random. Now for this, I like using one that has a lot of background for your cover. It's up to you. If you do one where it's kind of like just their face, it's going to be hard to put the words in front of there. You're not going to want to like block stuff. But this looks like a nice picture. We'll steal this couple, or this one, even better. Okay, so you're going to copy it. Now you're going to go over here to paste, and the image is right there. Now, important to note with Microsoft Word, you can copy and paste an image, but if you go to move it, you don't have a lot of control over where you can move it other than to move it to another page. So the first thing you want to do whenever you're pasting an image is right click, click wrap text, and do behind text or in front of, but we're going to do behind because this is the cover, and then you can move it wherever you want. I like to make this the size of the page. Another fun thing that people don't realize about Microsoft Word is that you can edit pictures. So you're gonna go right up here to picture format, and there's a bunch of stuff you can do here. You can change the lighting, the sharpness, the contrast. You can even change the color, color tone, more saturated, less saturated. But you can also do all these artistic effects that kind of make it look like a painting, just completely blur it. There's a bunch of options that, like, this is very like early 2K, but you could do that. You can also play with the transparency, which I do like doing, especially for covers. And if you don't like just the couple of options they give you here, you just click more options and play with the transparency. So I'm going to make it a little transparent. I'm going to go over to color. I want it totally black and white. And then I do like upping the contrast a little bit. I said a little bit. That's a little bit better. So that's pretty much the cover. Now, like I said, the entire document, we're going to keep going just pretty much text box and pictures. So right here, click text box, draw text box, and draw it wherever you want. Now, similar to the pictures, before we start working, I like to format my text box. As you can see, the default for the text box is to have this white square, but also, let me zoom in, this black outline, which has its place in some areas, but definitely not on the cover of a magazine. So we're going to click it. We're going to go shape format, shape fill, no fill, and this is the line right here. No outline. It was a 72. Sometimes so you might want an outline. There's a bunch of things you can do. You can change the color. You can change the dial just like this by pressing this little button. You could change the dashes. There's a bunch you could do. I'm not going to do it for this particular project. Highlight the number and add whatever all the options that Microsoft Word has. Obviously, once you to have this, like I said, you can do whatever you want. Shape format. I'm going to do wedding. Click arrange. Also do this one, the wedding issue, October 31st. So as you can see, formatting the Word box did kind of take a lot more time than I would like to do for every single time I want to do a Word box. So usually I just copy and paste it, and you could do that by clicking Control C, Control V, and then just like changing the font from there.
kind of doing, instead of having to go all the way through getting rid of the outline and the background.
3rd.
So I'm going to pick my font that I want for all my regular
all
text.
just typing on my laptop.
That's a good one. And I'm going to type in 50. I don't know. Naples, Florida. Here's to 2026. And then we can kind of play around with that here. I actually think, I know this doesn't matter because I'm just showing you how to do things, but I think I would like the font a little bit smaller. And I'm going to add some spaces. I like to count the amount of times I'm pressing space. So I did 7 on each side. And then I'm going to just get rid of that period and add another space. And I think I'm going to make it a little bit smaller again. Now I think I'm going to make this a little more transparent. I like it. All right, so let's see what else we could do. So like I said, I'm just going to keep copying and pasting this box. I liked that 2025 that I had on my brother's wedding thing. And I'm going to just drag this over just so I can make the text box that much smaller. Beautiful. So now you have 2 options here. Obviously, the spacing between the 20 and the 26 is a little bit ridiculous. So you can either make these 2 separate word boxes and move them around. I like to have less features on each page as possible just to make editing more seamless. So you're going to go over here to where you would click like double space if you were writing a document. And you can simply click remove the space after paragraph.
And keep that
but
here.
still, that's too much space. So I'm going to go to line spacing options. I'll show you right here. And where it says line spacing down here, it says
go back and play with
I like to do exactly.
Sorry.
And then I kind of just play with it. So we'll start with 9.
Yeah, so definitely make sure you have
Let's
your
undo
font
that.
size picked
Line
out.
spacing. Exactly, we'll
Before
try
you do the
12.
line spacing.
Still a little too
Alright,
much.
that looks
It also
fun.
sometimes
See what
depends on
else
the
I have.
font. So you can
Canes,
think this is just
different
more
font. I'll
word
try this one.
boxes. So you could do that.
Yeah, no,
So then I have these little lines over here.
So you
and
kind of just
honestly,
play around
the
with it.
line
The preview
work
really
is
doesn't do much
the
for you
best way
at
to make
all.
such an impact and to kind of elevate this to make it look like you're not just typing
We'll
on pictures.
see what the difference is at
So you're going to go
okay,
to
that's getting
insert.
better.
Yeah, so it kind of
Shapes,
depends on each
just
font,
line
but
right here.
now you kind of, if you want
See
the
what you're
line to
working
not
with
be all
here.
like
Alright, that's a
crooked
little
on
too
accident,
much
just hold down your
still.
shift key.
So I would do,
and it'll keep it on an axis. It can move over like by certain
that's pretty
degrees.
solid. And like I
It'll
said,
pretty much
you
keep it
can
straight. So I
simply
want that right
just make
there.
2 text boxes.
I want the weight to be much heavier so I could see it. And you're going to click over here for the color. Right. I'm going to just click the line again. I'm just going to copy and paste it. This is why I don't like working with lines. They're really hard to click. But you're just going to drag and drop it. Right. Oh. Keep zooming in and out. And there you go. So again, if I wanted to add their names, I would just do another text box by copying and pasting this one, so I don't have to reformat it. I'm gonna try to do it not exactly like how I did my brother's, just to show you all like the different options, but I mean, it's kind of hard to completely conceptualize something new right off the cuff. I always like doing the names in cursive. It just, gives it an extra layer. This is always a good font. Make it a little bit bigger. Ooh, I like it. I think that looks good. All right, so the first page is done. So the second page for my brother, I just did pictures. That was kind of a lot of work piecing it together, just making sure they're seamless. You're not covering one photo, like an important area of that photo. And these were text box. These were 3 separate text box. For something this big, I didn't want to deal with the line spacing like I did for this one. But yeah, pretty self-explanatory. Schedule of events. So same thing here. I just did text box, and I just did a lot of line work. These images right here, I actually got off of Google. So if you're not selling this, Google's free. Okay, I highly recommend that. I'm not selling this to anybody. These are your brother. So like let's do which I think is the fanciest
church icon.
And your end arrow type, I would do the diamond. Did I say triangle? I meant diamond. And then you could do end arrow size and make it even bigger. That's usually a good, that's a good keyword to use, line drawing when searching on Google. And you can definitely something to whatever ones you like. Just add something really pretty. Just add something. So this was a fun one. These images I also got off Google. If I had to add concerned about there being a background, because there usually is. Also, this is my favorite website, remove.bg. And these are also text box. So any text box that you're writing, like I said, if it's on Google, you can use it. I wanted something pretty basic. But my vision was to be able to write the furthest traveled and like all other pieces of information on these long ribbons. So I did want a longer ribbon, but that's up to you. You don't have to do that. There's a lot of, like I said, I've seen 1,000 different ways to do this on the internet, but I thought this was a good picture. And look, these black and white squares already mean it's a transparent background. So I could put that right in here. So I'm going to wrap it, and this one is obviously behind because we're putting stuff over it. So now we had to make these really small because we had a lot of awards that we wanted to honor. Okay, so I rotated it, which was super annoying working sideways. So if you do not have as many guests as we did, you could just leave it like that. I've seen some other people on the internet not have these lower like tails of the ribbons and just
obviously all the
type
pictures
down
are
here.
in
It's up to you,
circles,
whatever you want. And you're probably wondering how the heck to do that on Microsoft Word because picture format it is going to be cheaper to print in black and white.
I'm going to
you
go
could
to
just
Google,
do it
I
all
got
in
this
color
from
and then
you
tell
guys,
Staples
headshot,
printed in black and white. But
and I'm
I
just
just like
gonna
doing it this way and
paste
having it
here
when I
roll
actually made this
over it, because sometimes
I
it's
was
using
just put it in black and white to make it come out too dark. You can't see it, so I think it's all of just stages. And I'm just going to show you how to do this on another page. Your end. It always prints darker than it looks on the picture to fill this center area. So what I did was that looks good. Now I'm going to pick a random circle. I'm going to get pretty much just the measurement of that inner circle that I want. Let's see, that's pretty good. I'm going to go up here. I see that it is still a perfect circle. It's 2.62 times 2.62. So I'm going to drag this down to this guy's face. And I'm going to make it transparent. Actually, I'm just going to do no fill as long as the outline is on, just so I can see what's going on. And I'm just going to make him a little bit smaller just to fit in that area. Yeah, I would say that's pretty good. All right, now I'm going to double click him and I'm going to crop just to like the area that I know I want in the circle. Crop. Okay, still looking good there, buddy. A little bit more, actually. Perfect. Okay, so now I'm going to click him, and I'm going to go back up to crop, and I'm going to click crop to shape, and I'm going to click that circle. Right, now you can see he's still a little bit lower than the circle outline that I have right here. So while he's still highlighted, I'm just going to go right up here. That 3.62 is the perfect width we're looking for. I'm going to add like this little ribbon like this, which would be much easier than copying and pasting. I just feel like it wasn't working for what I wanted to do with it. So I just did it a different way. I typed in Google. Remember, if we are not selling, we can use whatever we find on here. I just picked, we'll do this one. I'm going to put it in remove.bg again. Beautiful. Copy, paste, make sure you're wrapping it. I'm going to do it in front of text. Let's make sure here. If you want to move multiple things at once, by the way, click the first thing, hold down Command or Control, depending on if you're Mac or Windows, and then you can move multiple things at once. And I am going to make this. I want to make it black and white. I wanted it to be more flat. No, if you do want it to have a little A right here, the name right there, and then you can rotate I'm just going to insert or you can simply just make it a little bit more. I do not want to do all the formatting, so I'm this little yellow node that comes up. Another word box. You can. If you do the shapes in Microsoft Word, you really have no control over the centering. I think it takes more time than it's worth, but it's a nice little effect. It does make it look like it is actually curving. Bob Smith, you won something. You want to do what we did and put the awards on the tails right here. All right, so quite simply, I'm just going to copy and paste it again. We'll do that Audrey font that we've kind of been sticking with. I'm going to turn off that effect, though. Oldest guest. I know clearly Bob Smith is not the oldest guest just by looking at him. But I'm going to rotate it, and just by my eye, I'm going to try to make the line of the text box and the line of the ribbon parallel. And then we're going to make this much smaller. If you need a little bit more space, you can go off-centered, but no one wants that. Do copy and paste. I'm just going to rotate it. Again, just eyeballing it. And you're 93 years old, Bob. Congrats. You could make this a little bit smaller yet again. Like I said, or you could just type. So that before kind of works better sometimes. And that's how we did the guests award page, which took a very, very long time. Same thing right here. All of our names, all of our faces. I did the circle crop again, and I just made an outline. So I'll show you how to do that. What I would do here is I'm going to add an outline to his face, let's say. You would do picture border. So you just click a black line. And since we cropped it to the circle, it's going to make the outline a circle. If you don't crop it to the circle or you just paste a circle picture, it might put an outline of the square. So you really want to make sure you're cropping to that circle. I'm going to make it a little bit thicker. Let's have fun with it. Let's make it dash. Yeah, let's add these dashes. That's fun. That's different. That's something you could do. We had another text box, text box, text box, and then here where it says always prints darker than it is on your computer, so be careful. So much stuff over it. Again, just a text box, and I just made the font like a really light gray, the one really close to white, and it just looks like it's in the background. And then I'm going to take this font with the men here. It's really kind of just up to your own aesthetic here, where you want to put these titles like that. There were so many people in this wedding party that I couldn't do a title with nothing around it. I had to put it in the background. And then just
Can't
another
went all the
picture
way
of them.
there for some reason.
What you could do,
I'm gonna try to copy and paste down here again. There we go. Rotate it, and I'm gonna write cheers. And here's where it gets crazy. I'm going to write it in white ink. Now, a lot of times printers have a really difficult time printing in white ink. That did happen here. It just kept showing the entire text box. It was super duper weird. So I wound up using my Cricut to cut out cheers, 50 copies of it, and I just manually put it on there. I don't blame you if you don't want to do that. So what you might want to do is just make this picture a little bit more transparent. And then this can be written in black or even like a darker gray.
Navigate the
Might have an
entire
easier
website.
time coming up
Like I
with
said,
that.
I already have
I don't know.
a
That's an
document
option,
saved
but
on
just be aware of
here.
that. Sometimes they have a hard time printing in white. They didn't.
Upload.
For
It'll
this
take a
whole
couple
thing
seconds
printed
to
perfectly
upload.
no problem, but
Here,
for
it'll show
some
you all
reason
your
that
options.
text box
So for some reason,
on this last page did not want to print cheers, so I wound up taking it off and just putting it on there manually. So just be aware of that. If you're doing this at Staples or something, I would recommend clicking pay at store, don't pay online, because then if it messes up, they might give you a hard time about like fixing it because you already paid for it. So you can get there and say, hey, this didn't work, I'm not paying for it, and they would
but if you want the cover
not
to
make you pay
affect
for it,
the
you
paper,
just walk away.
absolutely can choose that
So
option.
that's
I
an
just did
option.
everything
Next, the
symmetric
important thing
inside.
is going to be you want to save this as
And then you're
a
just going to keep going
PDF.
through
So you're going
almost.
to save as,
Are all in
you
black
go
and
down
white.
here,
You're going to want to make sure
and
you
you're going to
click
click
black
PDF.
ink. If you don't click black ink, it's going to register that you're using color ink. It's not going to recognize that all of your ink is black. So make sure you click black ink, and look at that. I mean, it's half the cost already. I know if you're like, oh, $4 to $2, that's not a big deal. But then when you put in 60 copies, it obviously does get a little bit more expensive. So for this wedding of about 260 people, I think it was, we just printed out 50 copies and put them on the tables at cocktail hour so people pass them around. You don't need one for everybody, that's fine. And then you add to cart. And that is it. I hope this was helpful. I hope you consider doing this for your event. And if you have more questions, need more help, please let me know. Thanks for watching.